Hello, folks. Brandon Chapman with you today. It's another edition of the video for TheoTrade. It is Monday, November 10th. We're about to see the market close here in about 14 minutes. And what do we got going on right now? What we see is the market's rallying. We're up 1.64% at the moment. Why are we rallying? Again, more spending, right? We had a pretty decent bond auction for 3-year bonds, treasury bonds. But the big news is, hey, are we about to pass a continued resolution to keep the government, open the government again? We've got the cloture vote. We got it out. We got a committee. We got a potential Senate vote today and a House vote possibly today. Is Trump eager to sign it? Probably. It will reopen the government, and all these things that we've been kind of hanging over our heads for a while are gone. Well, the market seems to be liking it. We're up 1.64%. And yet, if we look at the performance of the various sectors today, what's actually leading? Gold is outperforming technology. And virtually all the movement that we're seeing in the S&P comes down to technology, which we know is Mag 7, right? It's Nvidia, it's Apple, it's all this Microsoft. Mag 7 companies are up 2.85% today. So beating gold slightly. So again, what do we see from this? Basically, we're seeing, look, it's a handful of companies driving all of the market's returns. Every other sector is underperforming the S&P 500 today. By a decent chunk as well. You got cyclicals in there. That includes Amazon. It's still underperforming, close to 0.25% from the SPY. It's clearly all the big cap technology names that are part of the Mag 7 that are leading the way. And yet they still can't muster enough return to outperform gold. Well, what does this really tell us? Why is gold performing so well? Clearly, this is not representative of an economy that's strong. It's certainly inflationary. We're about to spend more and borrow more money. This should make things a little bit more inflationary, right? Seeing the XLK just overtook gold by a smidge. But the point is that today is not necessarily a celebration of the market doing well. It's really about the dollar losing value, particularly, again, as we look at gold, which is priced in US dollar terms. So we had the selling as the dollar strengthened here. Now we're seeing the last couple of days, the dollar reversing its strength. If we look at TLT, what you'll see is that bonds have been generally under pressure. If we look at the euro/US dollar, which the dollar index is the inverse of, we're not seeing the dollar really weaken or strengthening vis-a-vis the euro. If we look at the dollar against the yen /JPY, again, dollar strengthening a little bit against the yen. This isn't like the dollar is strengthening significantly against other currencies, because it's a relative strengthening. When you think about the absolute strength of the dollar in gold terms, because gold doesn't have any value, right? It's not a very good commodity. It's heavy, it's soft, etc. Gold is what? Has relatively stable value as a function. Its price changes, and its price is up 2.69% today. It's a pretty big move. And after a decent sell-off here, could we be poised to retest prior high around 405 in GLD? We might be poised to do that. Why? Because again, we're weakening the dollar in real terms. We're passing more spending, right? We're basically in a stagflationary type economy with a weak jobs market, with weakening spending and more delinquencies in terms of auto loans, etc. The economy is sputtering along at the moment, and gold's reflective of a stagflationary posture in the market. And so what we saw here was more of a deflationary posture, as we're kind of worried about the implosion of debt. We're kind of allaying those fears right now as gold's kind of rallying back and the market is coming off our lows. We look at XLK. Maybe we have a shot here to retesting 306. I did a presentation for TheoTrade members about a week and a half ago talking about hedging their portfolios. They had a chance to roll it on Friday, for example, to roll those puts on Friday down to a lower strike to book about $1,000 in gain. But basically we're saying, look, just own Nvidia and own gold and hedge the rest. I mean, Nvidia is up 6% today. And so that's certainly kind of coming true to some degree that, look, there's nothing going on. Nvidia is basically cannibalizing the rest of the market. It becomes a zero-sum game if Nvidia is going to go higher, because there's no new money coming in, right? There's no new money. So basically stuff has to sell if Nvidia is going to go higher. And so we look at the breadth of the market. We look at stocks above their 200-day moving average, stocks above their 50-day, above their 20-day. We're seeing a market that's really struggling at the moment. to find companies that are broadly participating in this rally, it really does come down to the biggest cap names performing the best. So my kind of pause is saying, hey, let's just own Nvidia and own gold, and that's it, and hedge it. Have a hedge against your Nvidia holdings. Okay, fine. That's probably worked out pretty dang well over the last couple of weeks. But again, as we go back to gold, why today? Well, look, we had some activity going on today. It's fairly significant for gold. Let me just show you really quick. So this is the 10th. This is my Ghost Prince surveillance console. It's something I've developed to help identify big option trades. You'll see here, for example, 126,000 traded today, right? 126,25,000. There was 114,000 verticals bought in literally at the same time. They're buying 114,390s and selling 114,405s. This is basically saying what? It's a play expecting gold to go to 405 or GLD to go to 405. Well, if we look at how this is kind of factoring in, notice that 405 is our prior high. And so again, we're trading based on that understanding. And for our Ghost Prince members, I sent out a trade this morning being long gold. And actually silver on Friday, silver saw some significant trade as well ahead of today's move. In fact, let me just show you on the console. We can go back in time to the 7th. And I'm going to type in SLV up here. SLV, we had 22,000 contracts bought of the 63 calls. That's a big time trade in silver on Friday. And again, we're seeing that movement kind of follow through today. So oftentimes we get this kind of big trade ahead of, and you'll see some puts being bought in there as well at the 41 strike. Well, which way is it going to break? We break towards 63 or through 63. This is going to create that upward lift in the market that we're seeing. And if we bring it back SLV, 63 is pretty far out of the money. But again, it goes back to the fact we're seeing this kind of activity come into the market early, signaling potentially big moves. We're getting the follow through today. I'm going to share with one that today that one of the Ghost Prince members brought up, PZZA. They actually took this trade on Friday, buying an upside call spread, and the stock was up hugely today. It's up 8% right now, but this was upwards of $48, $49, and did stop trading today because there's news of maybe someone acquiring Papa John's. And so we think about, well, how do you know this stuff's happening ahead of time, right? Because it's only valuable if it's happening ahead of time, right? You can position yourself. Well, on the 7th, someone came in and bought 10,000 contracts of January 16 calls at the 45 strike price. And if we actually examine it a bit further here, go to location here. Let me reset the filters, which you'll see it was actually an upside call spread, buying the 45s and selling the 55s. You'll see being bought near the ask there, being sold at the bid there. 10,000 contracts. This got filled in two parts there. But the point is, we're seeing big time call activity, 45 to 55 in PZZA on Friday. And this is ahead of the news today that's signaling, hey, we're expecting a big move, right? And today we're getting that big move on a potential acquisition. Did somebody know something? I don't know. But the potential acquisition price, 65, we're looking at 45, 55 gets you prior highs here. And if we go back to the print that we're seeing here, notice this, 3 bars, PZZA has significant squeeze potential because it has high short interest. And so you couple the squeeze with the gamma squeeze as a result of Friday's trade, this sets up for big time potential moves. Now, how are you prepared to see something like that on Friday? Well, guess what? If you have the Ghost Prince surveillance console, it ain't hard. You can do a block trade setting in one click, and you can easily identify stuff like PZZA, 30, 40 of those trades every single day that you can go through and find which one you find ideal. And one of our members bought a spread here and did really well this morning. Well, folks, that's the wrap for today. Just understand is that there's stuff going in the market that you don't see every single day, right? That options provide an opportunity. You saw that with Michael Burry, for example, going short Palantir, going short Nvidia. How did he do it? He bought puts, right? This is what we're tracking in Ghost Prince. This is why we created a tool to help you facilitate it. And just a couple of examples, one today and 2 on Friday, where you saw some big time activity occurring before the moves, and today in gold happening alongside the move, pointed to maybe a retest of the recent high in GLD. Well, folks, that's all we got for today. We'll catch you back in the next week's video. You have a great one. Thank you.